Well, a couple of things. Firstly, this COAG meeting is not about the GST. We've got an independent umpire, the Grants Commission. They've made their determination and that's the end of the matter. I don't see any other proposal on the table other than this notion of politicians sitting around, if you like, putting to one side the independent umpire's ruling and carving this up amongst ourselves. That's not going to happen, and Mr Barnett needs to know that. The second thing I'd say on his comments, I've been really clear, and I would. You've obviously heard and seen the comments that I've made. What I will say beyond that, though, simply the comments were completely inappropriate. They were wrong, and I would ask Mr Barnett to apologise, not to me or my government, but to every single Victorian. It's not for one state to be upset about that and try and change the rules. If you want to have a proper discussion about the future, then that's fine. I thought that's what the taxation white paper process was about, and the if you like, for the other white paper processes that are going on right now.
If the Commonwealth want to bail out, the poverty-stricken state of Western Australia, I think it's entirely a matter for the Commonwealth. I mean, look, it's not on the COAG agenda. It's a distraction. I mean, it's a patently obvious stunt by Premier Barnett to try and get a rise out of the Victorian Premier. I mean, that's what we keep coming to these COAG meetings talking about Western Australia. I mean, he's not going to hijack the agenda this time. We've got lots of important things to talk about on the agenda. We're not going to be talking about GST and their sort of crying poor. I mean, I've always thought that it makes common sense for the Commonwealth to be the collector of taxes, because it doesn't make sense to have a series of authorities. I think we gave up that right in the 1940s or whatever it was. So it seems to have been forgotten at some point here. But it's common sense for there to be a centralised collection of a range of taxation. That's why the GST is analysed and collected centrally. It's why income tax is dealt with centrally. And I think there's strong arguments for that to be extended to things like payroll tax and other things. So that is the sensible work of taxation reform.
People on the ground that would say payroll tax, transaction-based tax, land tax, stamp duty, all sorts of other taxes should move to a national platform. So I would have thought the weight of logic and the weight of opinion was not in devolving those powers back to the states, but in fact maybe getting a more uniform system. That's not to say, though, certainly from my point of view, that's not to say that we couldn't have a debate about hypothecating or a dedicated amount of money from the income tax take to support hospitals, for instance. I think that's a debate that's worth having, but you'd also have to, with that, perhaps have a discussion about who does what in the health system, where some of the lines are, what are the state's responsibilities, what's the federal government's responsibilities. I say that with a view that we could perhaps do more. I'm not looking to shift responsibility. I think the states could perhaps do more in terms of direct service provision for health and managing care and all of those things. They're the issues we should be talking about. I felt obliged to respond to some pretty ordinary comments from Colin Barnett, but I'm not here. I haven't come all the way to Canberra to talk about Colin Barnett. I've come here to talk about ways in which we can work together and show that politics can work, and the politics at its best is about agreement and common goals and delivering for the people who sent us here.